Okay, so I want to tell you a couple of other commands that we can use that may not have been uh, in your Linux journey, but I think that are actually pretty important commands to know, and that is just some basic file management commands. So I have my Bash shell open here, okay, and I'll notice I'm in a temp directory. So I'm gonna actually go back to my home directory. Now, my home directory is always going to be represented by a tilde. That's a shorthand. So if no matter where I'm at in the file system, if I want to go home, I just cd in my tilde and I'm home. Okay. So what I have done is I have made a temp folder in it, and so I'm going to just change directory into that. And now I can. One of the features of my Bash shell is that I can autocomplete. So you want to try and use the autocomplete often because it will just save you some time and it'll keep you from mistyping things. And so one of the things that can happen is when you mistype a file name or something, it will really mess you up, especially if you try to copy some files over and you copy it into the wrong folder. And there's a number of reasons why you want autocomplete. But we're going to change directory into the temp folder. And just so you can see, I can print the current working directory and notice it's home 0cell temp. So there's my temp folder. Now, one of the commands, let me just clear my screen, and that just helped me. Doesn't really do anything other than gets my brain focused. But one thing I want to do is I want to be able to create a file without having to open it up in a program or use a save as command. I just want to create a file. This is a very important command, and that's the command that's called touch. So I'm just going to use this command touch, and all this does is it creates the file. I'm going to call it file 2. So here's my I don't get any feedback from that at all. There is some, if I want to look at the help on it, I can get that, and I can see that there are options. I can change some things about that file. I can use it without actually creating any files. I can change the date. I can do a couple of different things with it. But I'm just going to create the file. And now I'm going to look using the command stat. I'm going to look at the file I just made. So now I have the information when I accessed it, modified it, and changed it. Information about the owner of the file, in the case it's me. And I have read-write access to it. So that's something that is available to me if I want to change the permissions of that file. I can do that using the change mode command. And I'll just go ahead and give everybody execute permission on file 2. And yeah, now I have done that with a lowercase x, not a capital X. Notice it does make a difference, but you see the permissions bit for execute has now been set on every owner, group, and guest, or owner, group, and user, and is now able to utilize that file. And if it was a script, they could execute it. If it was another file, they could read it. So that is something that you can do. And to create the file, I can modify it. I can change its settings, and it's available should I want to go in and open it up as an ASCII text file, or if I want to write information to it. The idea is that when I use touch, I have a little more control over how that file is set up and made, and I don't have to ask any questions later. Okay, so that is touch, and then stat will actually show you the file. Now, there's another thing that we can do, and that is actually creating files, and we can do this automatically. So I wanted to show you just a really quick overview of the fact that the shell, your shell, has the ability to do some things programmatically. So this is a feature of the Bash shell, and it is called programmatic expansion. So I have the touch command, and I'm going to remember touch. It actually creates files. Okay, if I use touch with a file that is already made, what I end up doing is I update the file. So watch this. If I do a stat on file 2, now notice that what has changed is everything about this file. When I use touch on this file that was already created, my access, modify, and change time all got updated to the current date time. All right, so, and this is the actual microsecond, that's being used, the time code on that. So notice that they're updated with that touch command as well. So if you ever needed to make a file to modify it and give it it's the idea of fingerprinting it with the current time, you can touch it. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to use the touch command and I wanted to make a sequence of files. What my shell allows me to do is it allows me to autocomplete. I'm going to use some brackets. Now, what I have done here is that I've used this one command to tell my shell, my bash shell, to create a file that starts with file, and it sequentially placed all of the numbers in the proper spaces. So it just went 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, and I can do the same thing if I wanted to do this. I'll just go in here and I'll make 100 files. Notice now I have quite a large assortment of files available for my writing pleasure. I have 100 of them, and I did that with one command. So that is a powerful way to create, some things. It's not like you would do that every day to make a whole bunch of files, but I wanted to show you how your shell, in a way, acts as a complete environment, and it interprets things, and in this case, expands those things out. Now I'm going to remove these files, and I'm going to remove every file that starts with the word file, and I put an asterisk there to globally remove these files. It's going to work on just this directory, not going to work on the whole disk. So removing can be dangerous. A couple other things I want to show you. Let's say we downloaded a file off the internet and we see some extensions here. In this case, there are two. One is a a file with the extension tar, and then another one, tar.xc. So I'm going to use a command called file, and I'm just going to begin to type that file name and press enter. It tells me that it's a tar archive. What is tar? Mantar tells me that it is an archiving utility. So I want to get a little bit of help about it. I don't want to learn all about it. I just want to give a little bit of help on tar. And one of the things that I see that I can use tar for is to extract all the files. And the way I do that is I use the X and F switch for extract files. Okay. If I want to see what they are, I can use TVF. That stands for test verbose files. Okay, so we can use TVF and see what they are. So we're going to do both of those commands just to get an idea. R TVF data tar. Now I get some output here, which helps me. I can see these files, and okay. Well, this is Google Chrome, so I don't really need to extract that. But that's what's in this archive. There's something having to do with Google Chrome, and it may not be the whole application. Then again, it could be, but we can see all of those files. Now, if I wanted to extract that, I can press the up arrow to get back to that command and hit X. Now you see it thinks a little bit, and here is my extraction. Now I did kind of a big no-no in the Linux world. I should have created a folder to extract those files into, but I didn't do that. I just did it right in my home folder. But I'm inside my temp folder, so I can always delete this, and I'll do that. I'll go ahead and do that right here. I'm going to remove the directory etc opt and user. It says cannot remove. So I'm going to force that. Be careful using the rm command. Bad things can happen if you're not careful. But one thing to know about remove is that you can it'll take all of the folders. You don't have to do that in 3 commands. You can do it in 1. Okay. And it still won't let me do it. What I will do is I will force a removal of the folder, and I will do it recursively with the R switch. There we go. So now those folders are gone. Okay, so like I said, be careful on using the rm command. So I've removed all the files in this folder, and I just have one left. I'm going to go ahead and see what is that file. So I'm going to use the file command, and I'm going to look at this file. It tells me that this file is XZ compressed data. Well, what is XZ? I've never heard of XZ. So I'm going to really quickly see if it has a manual page. And it does. It says that it is the compress or decompress. And so I want to, how do I uncompress the file? Well, I just read here, unXZ is equivalent to XZ long switch decompress. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Even though what I could do is go back and just look. maybe I can look at the file. XZCat. Search for that. So so what I don't necessarily want to do is path all of the files input over to my output terminal. So I'm just going to unxz my file, and what I get is now I get a tar. So I'm going to do the file command again. What is that file? Oh, it's a tape archive, tar. Okay. So remember how I used tar? What I did was I tested verbosely files TVF in my tape archive. Okay, and what do I have? I have 4 different folders inside there. Right, so I can go ahead and uncompress that, or I can decide, no, I don't think I want to do that right now. So I haven't actually done anything here except uncompressed it from its original state, which I can always put it back. So now I have my compressed file again back, and the compression. There's quite a few compression utilities in Linux. There's XZ, there's gzip, there's zip, there's tar, many different forms of compression available. So we'll look at a couple more of those later, but this will just give you an overview, and I hope ultimately you see maybe how to interact with the command prompt a little bit more, and hopefully you feel a little more comfortable doing that in this case. Remember, viewing and testing are things that you want to do when you're in the command prompt, and you always want to do those types of things before you actually enter a command. The manual pages, the file command, viewing archives, and testing or doing dry run the commands before you do the real thing. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions.